hand, just so I can keep track of who has their hand up and who would like to speak. And I'll get to you very shortly. To start off today, I hope that everybody has a copy of the agenda. Anybody missing it, or everybody have it?
To start off today, I hope that everybody has a copy of the agenda.
Is there any amendments, anything anybody would like to add to it? No, I'm seeing none. So, okay, we'll move on to the disclosure of a conflict of interest. Does anyone have anything to disclose this morning?
Dave, we're just getting some feedback there. There, he's sorry, Lucy, you can proceed. He just silenced his microphone. We're just getting feedback.
Okay. Okay, so we will move on to the adoption of minutes if there's no conflicts of interest to disclose. Dan, do you have your hand up, or is that just an adjustment?
Just an adjustment.
Okay, fair enough. So we now need to move on and adopt the minutes from the previous meeting back in October on the 29th. Could I have someone motion to move that, please? Thanks, Corey. And can I have someone second him, please? Thank you, Katie. All in favor, everybody? Seeing everybody? Okay. We move on. There's no delegations to address this morning, and there is no correspondence items either. So we will move on now to priority issues. To start off this morning, I would like everybody, we'll go around the screen, and I would like you to raise your hand as you're about to speak. Just making it visible, please. And then I would like you to say your name and briefly provide some feedback as to how the virtual meeting process is going for you and if there's anything you would like changed. So we'll start off with Jen.
Hi, I'm Jen Brown. The virtual meeting process is fine. I don't know what to say. It's pretty easy on my end. I have my computer here and I have headphones because my husband's in the office also on a meeting and I can't hear over him. So
Fair enough. Okay, great. Thanks, welcome, and thanks for your input. Corey?
So my name's Corey Agnew. Virtual meetings are good and bad for me. So I do a lot of volunteer work and I film a lot of meetings. So one thing that would improve meetings for me is if everybody would sit farther back from their cameras so that you can actually see their faces. For people that are hard of hearing, if you can see their lips moving, it's easier for people to read your mouth. And that makes a huge difference actually for people.
That's a good point. That's a good point. We'll make sure to address that. Councillor Allen?
Yes, I'm Lorraine Allen, and I have to tell you, I'm glad we can do virtual meetings, and I haven't had major problems with them, but I'm a people person and a bit of a hugger, and I really like being with people that, you know, you just seem to have more interaction and feel like you've really been with people. I find sometimes when I leave these meetings, it's just like shutting a book rather than like going home feeling like you've really had a big conversation. And that's just a product of what we have to deal with. But I'm glad we have it. I'm glad we have this option and that we don't have to stop business.
Wonderful, thank you. Katie?
I'm Katie Hoffman. I love the virtual meetings. Over the last year, I've had a hip replaced and I'm having another one next month. So it makes it very easy for me to be in my home and still do everything I want to do. I also love going to meetings, and by then, hopefully, I'll be all healed up and ready to go. So I'm happy.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Dan?
Hi. No, I enjoy the virtual meetings. With my business, this is how we interact with all the aspects of head office. So I'm good with this. Yeah, it'd be great to get together, but right now for where we are, this is fine.
Awesome. Awesome, Director Dunlop. Okay, we'll move on to Councillor McGuire then.
Guys, sorry I'm late. I had another call there. It's
No problem.
What are we talking about today?
We're just introducing ourselves and briefly describing how the virtual meeting process is going for us.
Oh, yeah, so it's I love it. I can go from my day job to this job in 5 minutes. So, but yeah, looking forward to when we'll be able to all meet in person for sure.
I think we all are. Is Kevin on yet, Nadine?
I don't see him. It looks like he keeps connecting, but I don't know that they've got him on yet. So
Okay. Okay, well, perhaps go back to Director Dunlop then.
Hi there, great to join the meeting today. Getting more and more used to Zoom meetings. It's only been a year now, and but I guess I'll never get used to that mute button no matter what. So anyways, I'm looking forward to
I'm not used to it either.
Yeah, yeah. Looking forward to participating in today's meeting and many to come.
Thank you for being here. Okay, so I think we will move on and we'll keep and watch out for Kevin when he joins us. So we're just going to briefly, I just want to review the mandate of why the Accessibility Committee is meeting. And that's enclosed in the terms of reference. So I'm hoping that everybody has a copy, or it's also on the town website if you prefer to see it that way. So one of the reasons we're here is to update or develop statements of commitment to accessibility and find a way to make these publicly available. And the other reason that we're here, among others, but one of the key aspects is to update and or create written accessibility policies for a lot, and make them publicly available as well, so that everybody can have their input and see that. All right, moving on. Doing well. Okay, so I understand an issue was brought forward to council this past Monday with regard to the parking bylaw. And this, I understand, was deferred so that it could come to the Accessibility Committee this morning to have their input as well. So I'll turn the floor over to Councillor McGuire, who brought that forward. So, Councillor?
Yeah, so the there's a new parking bylaw that's coming through council, and I think the report was attached to the agenda on the website. I don't to me there was no red flags or anything on it. I just thought it'd be a good practice to run it through the committee, because it's got aspects of it that'll affect the accessible parking spots, and it will if whether or not it has an impact or whether there's any comments or suggestions from the committee that should get passed on, I'll leave that up to the membership. So I don't know, did anybody have any concerns or questions or?
I didn't. I thought the language that they're proposing change is quite good. I find it more inclusive, so I think that's going to be a good change. Corey?
Quick question. For people with the handicap stickers, do they have to pay if they're not in a accessible spot? Can anyone answer that?
Counselor?
Yeah, so I think it's going to be free 2-hour parking everywhere in the downtown. And then on the fringe areas around the downtown's defined by the Downtown Business Association boundaries. And on the fringe areas around the outside, it's going to be 3-hour parking based on what's proposed right now. So that's a good question. Yeah.
So that's for everyone though?
Everybody will get 2 hours in the DBA area and 3 hours on the borders.
Katie?
Just to ask, there was some mention of a parking. Do you have to go and get a slip and put it on your windshield or something, or?
Not unless you're in the controlled lot on Market Street's my understanding. So that one you can pay for virtually. And if you pay for it virtually, I think they do it based on your license plate, so you won't need a ticket. Or I think there'll be a thing in the parking lot that you could buy it from, but it'll just be for that Market Street.
Okay, so on the mains in the downtown business core, you just park and stay within the 2-hour limit.
Yeah, and bylaw is going to be enforcing it more strictly than we have in the past. So I'm not quite sure how the technology works, but they'll be able to tell if people are.
It's the chalk on the tire, I think.
I don't know. They might have a more high-tech thing now and again. Is that the case, or?
I don't know.
You're correct. All the meters will be removed, and there'll be appropriate signage up that it's 2-hour parking. But staff are looking at a new modern way of so-called talking tires.
Yes.
Electronic system where they monitor the vehicles and where they're parked.
Oh, yeah.
So it's exciting. The town's progressing into a new option of enforcement.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Great.
I think that wraps up that discussion. Is there any further questions, comments? Seeing none, so thank you, Councillor McGuire. Next, we'll move on to the next item, which
sorry, Lucy, we missed Director Dunlop's. He's going to do an update on phase 2 of Beckwith Street.
That's what I just noticed that. Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So next we'll call on Director Dunlop, and he'll provide us an update on phase 2 of the Beckwith Street revitalization.
Thank you, Lucy. As everyone may be aware, we hired a new design team for the second phase. We went back out to the public for bids on that, and we have a new team, Morrison Hirschfield. They've been working on the design since September of last year. We will be sharing with the public very soon, but council just received the initial presentation of the work that's been done on that project on Tuesday evening on the 16th last week. The stuff that's been done, I'll say between September and now, they've done a lot of drilling in those 3 blocks to identify how much bedrock we got to deal with. There was some former gas stations and obviously some current ones in the stretch. And so there was also a review of soils to make sure we don't start in a project and find something we didn't see coming. So we've done a review of environmental impacts. The team The landscape architect that's on the team for this project was actually involved in the Lansdowne redevelopment. So we've got a very good talent on the team this go around, and hopefully looking at a much greener second phase. There's been a series of tree assessments throughout all three blocks, looking at what trees might be impacted, what ones will not, and also looking at opportunities to try and introduce much more shade and canopy in the second phase. Their team's also been working on the underground, and that's the water mains will have to get replaced. We have a lot fewer customers in the second phase, almost half of what we did in the first phase. So we're a little delighted that there's the underground's a lot less complex. They're going to be doing new storm and sanitary lines as well. That's part of their designs, and those designs are just about ready to be shipped off to be reviewed by the province. A few key features I'd like to share with what we're going to call them the 60% designs. So the 60% designs, the details that were shared with council on the 16th are generally, we'll call it the shape and the boundaries of the road, the parking zones, how the bike lanes would be configured. We heard some great feedback at that meeting. A couple of questions or key features that are going to be under discussion in this phase is there's a request for a pedestrian crossing device. They call it a PXO. That would be at Church Street. And just to give everybody context, if you've been in downtown Perth, you've probably seen PXO devices near their town hall. So they're activated by obviously by pedestrians on demand. The key feature, or one of the attractive features of a PXO is it's very inexpensive compared to full signals. The time of the flashing is a lot shorter than a typical intersection timing in essence. And the cost is about 20% of what the cost of a full-blown signal upgrade is. So there was a lot of discussion at committee about where that should go. Morrison Hirschfield is leaning on having that crossing on the south side of the Church Street intersection, much in part because of some traffic and congestion concerns that may result at the Tim Hortons and Burger King site entrance. But they're having a careful look at it because I think everybody recognizes there's a real, the true desire line where people want to cross that intersection is no doubt right at the corner of the town hall is where people really want to go. But we just have to make sure that that's going to be the right decision. So we've got some homework to do with council. The intersection of Elmsley was also discussed at length at the meeting. Just to give the committee context, that most of the work that we are going to be doing at those intersections is going to be kind of above ground. There's very little underground that will be happening in that intersection. So unlike digging Chambers and Main and Russell a full 8 feet deep, we won't be doing that on Elmsley. So we're going to be looking at changing the traffic signal hardware. So back to that ornamental or more decorative approach. We would be looking at all of the accessibility features like the tactile plates, the countdown timers, enhanced pavement markings, etc. So that's part of that design review. Council had expressed on some concern on Tuesday night last week regarding the proposal to remove the free right turn lane. So obviously when you're coming up the hill on Elmsley, cars have that free right movement, and through the design stages that Parsons had done in the past, there was a desire to close that, much in part to, we'll say, calm or slow the traffic coming into that corridor. I know from our department's perspective, we have heard concerns from the public about trying to cross at that location. Obviously, you have to cross a channel where the vehicles have priority and to get across to the library. So that's something we got to look at closely. There's also a proposal for like a grand gateway feature. We're not sure what that feature will be. Whether it would be a sign that would demark the entrance to the downtown, or if it would be perhaps a larger piece of public art that would be located on one of the corners up at the intersection. The idea being if visitors are exploring or enjoying the downtown, that we create some placemaking where people perhaps may want to have their picture taken, or you know what I mean. It might be that location where people will go to in the future. So the design team is going to be looking at concepts for that. So generally, when we do project designs, council gets the first look just to make sure that we're not completely heading in the wrong direction. And then when we've got that initial feedback from council, we then go out to the various advisory committees and other agencies, and also the landowners with more specific information. So we're going to be launching into that phase very soon. I can tell you with the 60% design, we haven't identified where the accessible parking would be. So I think we certainly are going to be looking towards the committee to guide us in terms of where those spaces might be, or how many spaces we may have. So I think we'll be providing through Nadine some information and some questions for the committee to follow up on. And and not to mention, there'll be some detailed design features that we're going to want the committee to see at Elmsley intersection before things are finalized. So there is no proposal set yet for this work to advance in the calendar year. The town has applied for a grant with the Ministry of Transportation. If we are successful in that grant, there may be a push to start some phase of that work this fall. But in any event, that would be, I think, very contingent on hearing back from the Ministry of Transportation. So that's about it. And then I'm available for any questions if anybody has any as well.
Dan?
Troy, will the phase two with the greenery be fairly close to what the greenery is already in phase one?
Great question, Dan. A lot of the trees that are behind the sidewalk, and in particular around the town hall, would not be impacted. But there are many may or may not be aware. A lot of the trees in this whole stretch of the downtown were Norway maples, and categorically they're actually an invasive tree. But CSW has looked at and done an inventory of every tree, and with the town's new tree canopy bylaw that's been passed, we're going to be looking to use that as a litmus test with this project to make sure that we're not declining the tree canopy. So again, once you get up to the area of Church, you've got a lot more opportunity for tree planting than you did in that, I'm going to say, very hardened environment in those lower three blocks where it's, it's all concrete. The buildings are at a zero lot line. And so we are excited about the opportunities in the next phase. So.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Katie?
I was just wondering if there'd been any thought given to the two fast food enterprises coming out on the side streets rather than the main street.
My comment on that would be, when through their site plan approvals for those developments, they were granted certain rights. I think any move to shut off an entrance to that site as part of the downtown development would be have a very significant business impact. It would probably be met with significant objection as well. So, I mean, Parsons' design team did look at the traffic very closely on this corridor in 2017 and 2018 when they did the background work. So they were confident that traffic could be met. I know many of you probably did hear through the planning stages of phase one, a lot of concern about, you know, what was going to happen with parallel parking and is it going to essentially seize up traffic in the downtown? And we're clearly seeing that that's not the case. So I don't think we have any type of a strong rationale that would push us in the direction of trying to take their primary entrance off of the arterial road.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Allen?
My question had to do with our discussion when we talked about the other intersection. I think it was Dan that brought up the question about timing and being able to extend the length of time for someone to walk across in the accessibility kind of aspect of the intersection. I'm just wondering, you said this time, Director Dunlop, that it would be less than normal, or could you explain that?
Yeah, sure. No, I'll dive into that. So there's a traffic manual. I think it's the Ontario Traffic Manual Book 12 is a publication from the province of Ontario. It provides all the guidance on standardized requirements for the timing for pedestrian signals. There's two sequences there that have a time assigned to them as an example. There's the walk phase and then there's the do not walk phase. So the walk phase, the minimum time that's allocated in any signalized intersection in Ontario is 7 seconds for that walk phase. And again, similar to traffic, there's always has to be, just like there's a yellow light, the do not walk is really the yellow light for people not to enter into traffic because they may not get across. The do not walk phase has, you can use either 1 meter per second as the time allocated for crossing or 1.25 meters per second. So I believe the city of Ottawa has a standard they use, but I can provide more specific information, but that is generally where that timing originates from. So it's standardized across the province. The PXOs, similar principle. The PXO, again, like what you see in downtown Perth, they apply, I believe, a 1 or 1.25 meter per second per crossing. So when you hit a PXO, it immediately goes into a flash phase. There's no waiting. Traffic has to yield, and it will clear very close to the time it takes to get across. So we can report back on those, but in general, the province provides a lot of the guidance on the timing.
Thank you.
Yep.
Well, Jennifer.
Hi, I had a question about the Elmsley Street crossing. If the free-flowing right turn lane will not be removed, it's a very dangerous intersection from a pedestrian standpoint. It's kind of a blind curve, and they come up pretty quickly, and you don't know if they're going to see you. If they don't remove the free-flowing right-hand lane, would it be possible, or I don't even know, to remove the pedestrian crossing from that intersection, from that side of the intersection?
So if I'll go back, back in 2017, Parsons did a whole concept review of the corridor and then they implemented detailed design in the first phase on that. That concept that was prepared, and again, whether it was angle parking or parallel parking, was the same in terms of the Elmsley intersection. The review that was done back in 2017 and 2018 had that free right removed. The driver for that was to slow down traffic entering the downtown. Parsons did not believe that it would have any negative impacts on traffic flow through the downtown, but again, that's the prior engineer's findings. The other driver is by closing up that right turn lane, we create more gateway space that we can allocate to more beautification of the downtown. That was a big driver to find a place for a gateway feature. So by pushing out that intersection at essentially Glen Avenue, it gives you that much more space for a pedestrian gathering area. So the other key benefit of removing that was, of course, it closes off that intersection a little more and makes the distances that pedestrians have to cross much shorter. So needless to say, I think 3 years have passed. We've got a new design team, and the one thing that I've learned through the industry is no two engineering firms think the same. So I've asked Morrison Hirschfield to look at this intersection again very closely with Parsons information and revisit those findings, because we will have to go back to council. So it would be a fundamental change. In the end, you know, if we look at all the work we've done in phase 2, I think phase 1, we've done a tremendous amount to make it a better pedestrian environment and better accessible environment overall. I want to make sure that we maintain those principles in phase 2 as well. So we're going to look at those 2 checks and balances, because, you know, the connecting link is a main thoroughfare through town. The ministry does give us money because it does move regional traffic. So we're going to hope to find that that balance with the design that will hopefully keep traffic moving, but also make it a very enticing, safe, and accessible place for visitors to come. So maybe a long-winded answer, but yeah, I mean, our goals are to make that those crossings shorter and absolutely safer, and for sure accessible. We've got the library right there. So.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm quite enjoying the street. Corey.
My question is actually regarding the first phase. So there's still one light at Chambers Street that isn't black. Will that be painted, or will that be changed at some point?
So through the chair, when the pandemic arrived in March of last year, we were very concerned about what was it going to mean for construction, what was it going to mean for supply chains, and what we've found out is the whole supply chain around traffic signal hardware has been disrupted. So when it comes to that light on the bridge, Corey, you're identifying right at the corner of the Lockmaster's Tap House. Next time you're down there, have a closer look at it. The bolts for that, unlike all the other lights in the downtown, they have their own foundation. The bolts in that location are actually poured right into the bridge deck. And underneath the bridge deck, there's actually airspace, so you can't break it out and re-pour it. We've had to go in the direction of ordering a customized pole to get that replaced, and now we're seeing delays on that. So that will be changed. Some frustration certainly on our part, but the materials are supplied through Econolite, and that company has been delaying, and I'm hearing traffic supplies throughout. I should mention the traffic controllers in the downtown, same problem. We've been waiting for cabinets. I was originally told that they were going to start on the 8th of this month and get the controllers in. I'm now hearing that hardware has arrived, is complete, and will be happening before March 8th. So all the controllers in the downtown are still operating on the old technology. So you've probably noticed traffic's not moving as well as it should. Again, that's been a frustration on my part, but I've finally received an update, and actually yesterday, that the controllers will be updated very soon.
The street between the library and the town hall, I believe, is that Daniel Street?
Yeah.
I don't know, is that street still up in the air about going to be closed?
So the closure of Daniel Street is not associated with the Beckwith Phase 2 project. Just to be clear, it's actually driven by the town development of the town campus. The Community Services Department has been working on the phases of development of the town hall and the town hall campus. I believe Art Manhire will be bringing a report forward regarding there's a band shell that's going to be built very close to the proximity of that. I believe there's also a road closure process that will be initiated sometime in the spring in regards to conversations around closure of that road. But in terms of Beckwith Street just looked at Daniel Street and the library and the town hall in the context of that long-term vision. So if there was a will to keep the road open, it would not have consequence in the design, but the triggers would be the town hall concept.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right. Corey, did I see your hand up?
Just one more question. So this winter, I found personally that the snowfall has been like not as heavy as a normal winter. That being said, when we do switch fully to parallel parking on Beckwith Street, will snow removal at nighttime be happening more often than currently is? Because we're taking up, I think, on average about 1.5 to 2 spots on a lighter snowfall, in my opinion, currently.
Director?
Great question, and certainly a very heated topic during the design stages for phase 1. If everybody goes back, you'll probably remember that generally after a minor snow plowing event, you would see a snowbank all the way up alongside the parking spaces. We've gotten away from that.
Yeah.
So with the new design, with the bike lane, you'll see in the lighter events that at the end of that shift, we are pushing those materials up into usually the upper 2 parking spaces as a temporary holding location. Now, one of the challenges with winter operations is we have 11 workers that do that, and they require rest. If we get an event that runs 10, 15 hours, I have to have a rest period. Then they come in and do the removals the next night. So in general, you might see 1 or 2 minor snowfalls in the downtown between removals. And again, that's an affordability thing. So in general, I have been reaching out to the DBA about snow removal in the first phase. Again, with the knowledge there was a lot of concerns about how snow is going to be taken care of. And I'm hearing we're doing a fairly good job, but again, if there's delay, Corey, it's usually because we have to recognize that rest period, and you can't do that activity during daylight hours. It has to be between midnight and 7 a.m. when the parking restrictions are in place. So, yeah.
All right. Does that conclude our discussion on that? Not seeing any other hands, so thank you, Director Dunlop. Very, very well done, and apologize for forgetting you, but
all good. Thank you very much, and I'll be here for the remainder of the meeting. So
awesome.
Great, thank you.
All right, so we will move on to item letters E, which is the 2021 work plan, mandate objectives, that whole aspect of it, sort of a good jumping off point. And I understand, I know Nadine has done some research how other towns are sort of established in terms of their accessibility considerations and commitments. So I would ask everybody, and I'll get Nadine to, I'll have you just provide some direction further how to access all those documents, and I'd like to have people read them. So Nadine, if you could provide some how to access those, that would be great.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do, if it's okay with the committee, I've reached out to some of my colleagues, from other municipalities about their statements, policies and some documents that they've been working on. And so what I said to Lucy was we could get some examples and samples for the group to review. In municipal world, you'll find many people beg, borrow, and steal from each other. They don't reinvent the wheel. So I thought we could look at them and we'll put them in a Dropbox box link. So I will send you the link and you'll be able to open the documents. It's better than you getting email after email of documents. And just take a peek at them and see if there's some areas that you like from certain documents. Certainly we can modify it, we'll make it our own for Smith Falls. But it's just to give you an idea of what they look like and what other municipalities have established. And we'll make sure that they, if the group's supportive at the next meeting, we can start developing some statements with your advice and we'll get that compiled together. So I'll send that out in an email later and we'll just start adding documents to it, if everyone's okay with it.
Okay, thank you, Nadine. That would be wonderful if you could move that forward. Moving on here. Okay, I think we'll turn things back over to Nadine now, and she will talk a little bit about item F, which is National Accessibility Week. So Nadine, floor is yours.
Okay, so part of our mandate, I believe, is to educate and promote accessibility in our community. So speaking to Chair Bingley about National Accessibility Week that I found online, it was established in 2017 and it celebrates, promotes, and showcases the diversity, inclusion, and accessibility in the country of Canada and highlights some of the important initiatives aimed by creating an accessible Canada. So other municipalities have proclaimed that week in their municipality as well, even though it's an national event, just to show support at the municipal level. And typically, I can't find the dates yet for 2021, but typically it's around the end of May. So I'm just waiting to get confirmation of that. The websites, the federal website hasn't been updated for 2021. But typically, the municipality would proclaim that. So the mayor would do that at a council meeting. He would proclaim Accessibility Week. And the committee could also do some education or awareness as well. We could look at different options, whether it be through media interviews or promoting the accessibility committee and the great work that all of you are doing. So I just thought I'd mention that. I will get the date hammered out, just trying to get that sorted out. And I thought that I could prepare a proclamation and obviously be served by all of you for review first before it comes to the council floor. To make sure that we have all the wording that the committee would like included.
Yes, perfect. Is there any comments or questions for Nadine or suggestions how to sort of establish all those?
Maybe just everyone could think about how they'd like to promote that.
Yeah. Dan?
Well, I know at the store, that's not a problem. We can set up something with POS and signage, and there's quite a few people that walk through the store every week. And so for that week, even the week before, we could halfway through, we could start promoting Accessibility Week just to bring more awareness to it.
That'd be great. Right, Katie?
Well, I hate to bring this up because it's probably old school, but there is a town near us that lets everyone in the town know everything that's happening by a banner across the main street. And I mean, I don't know how anybody feels about that. It's old school, of course, but it really works. Does anybody agree or have a Lorraine? I mean, sorry, Lucy.
No problem.
just have to get permission on that, Katie. There's been a bit of concern with the weight of those beautiful banners. You are right. The town of Perth has them, and I think they have a very structured system. I know Director Dunlop has had experience in this, but they have a system on the buildings because those beautiful banners can sometimes cause a lot of damage if they get blown and tore off the building. So I think we've kind of, and the other thing that's happened in Smith Falls is a lot of people have wanted them over years on Beckwith Street, but our Beckwith Street is quite wider than other
That's true.
municipal streets. But you know, maybe there's some way we could get some type of signage out there. We could think about what those options could be. That, you know, it's a great idea, and I it's just we'd have to seek some approval for that one.
Okay.
Another option we could look at too is maybe putting some signage. I don't know, Nadine, if this would work, but on the posts on the new street.
Oh, you mean where the DBA signs are, Lucy?
Yeah.
So those flags that they have.
Those flags. I'm wondering if something could be put along there, around there.
So I don't know that we have like a budget, but let me look into that. I'll see what the DBA has and how they've got those flags, what the cost is, and you know where the monies would come for that. But I'll certainly make note of it.
Perfect. Okay, I had another question. Was it you, Jen?
I was just going to say the same thing that you did. That was it.
Okay.
Just using the same spots on the posts as what's there now.
Awesome. And did I see Katie's hand up?
No, Lorraine, I think.
Oh, was Councillor Allen? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering too, Director Dunlop explained that we're just looking at the gateway idea of the downtown, and perhaps somewhere in that it could be work in a possibility of having signage of what's happening in the downtown. I mean, you wouldn't have to go across Beckwith. You could maybe incorporate it into what we create, or just an idea or thought.
Good idea. Right. Anybody have any further comments? We could, I'm thinking to another sort of outlet for promotion would be the newspaper. We could just simply put something in the paper for everybody to access.
Yep.
Town website would be another option.
And we can make sure it's on our social media avenues as well.
Corey?
Create a video possibly, and the town can share it on their Facebook and website.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Certainly a good way to access for people, especially these days when, you know, getting together is more complicated. You have another question, Corey?
Just one more thing. I'm pretty sure the week is starting May 26th. Is the start of Accessibility Week.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, I think that concludes that discussion. Is there anybody I've missed or anything further? Seeing none. So our next item, we're going to just talk about when our next meeting shall be. And it's looking like this Wednesday morning time frame is good. Does anyone have any feedback? We're looking at March now, so is there anything that people can or can't do? Corey?
Preferably keeping it in the morning would be better for me.
Nitty?
Lucy, I was just gonna propose maybe the last week of March, and the reason I say that is just if we get that material out for everybody, it'll give you some time to read over those documents or
Sure.
the wording.
Mhm. Absolutely, that would be, yeah. So Nadine, I think I will leave that to your capable hands to sort of put that date
So
forward.
March 31st is what you're thinking, Nadine?
March 24th or March 31st, whatever works. for the
24th would be better for me personally.
Everyone's good for March 24th at 10. I'll make sure those documents start getting loaded today and then
Good.
get the link out to everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that concludes our meeting today. So we'll adjourn now. So if I could have somebody motion to adjourn. Thank you, Dan. And could I have someone second him, please? Councillor Allen, thank you. So that concludes our meeting. Have a great day, everybody.